War Eagle Auburn family, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. This is where we get together, we hang out, and we just talk about what it's like being part of the Auburn family. On tonight's live stream, it is Monday night, and during football season, you know what that means. It is our breakdown and grades live stream for the latest Auburn football game. Sadly, this time we are breaking down, grading a loss. The Tigers, the real Tigers, even though they lost. Auburn falls to LSU 21-17 on the Plains. We have obviously already done a reaction show where you can hit that up if you'd like some initial just discussion points, react, not really a stat discussion there. This is what that is more for tonight. That is all they're available for you on the channel as well. So we're going to be doing that. Normally, I'm joined by my host or co-host, Mr. Ben King, and he is on his way here. He has had some scheduling conflicts tonight that he has been working around. So as soon as he can get in and he is settled in the green room, I will let him in. But while we do all that, we can go ahead and set the table for tonight to get ready to break down and grade this game. Right now for us, what I'd love for you to do, smash the like button if you're watching here on YouTube, retweet, share if you're on Facebook, all of that stuff, share in the groups, invite a friend in to be part of our little family within the Auburn family here, and that is very much appreciated. But use this as your check-in period right now to post in the chat where you're watching from with your city, your state, international if you're international, with a War Eagle, because it's always great being an Auburn Tiger, even in the losing time. So let us know that you are here to get this thing started tonight. Corey is here. We've got Rob, Neil, Big Simp, Devin here checking in from the T-ball game. Connection is a little spotty. Well, you know, at least you're making an effort to be here. That's all that matters, and that's all that really, matters there. I just saw Big Simp. There went your $20 super chat. I appreciate you still feeling worthy of giving, or being worthy of getting the $5 super chat. So thank you, Big Simp. You're very appreciative, sir. And I do appreciate your support in terms of being here, but also and helping keep the lights on here at E2C Network Central. So thank you so much for that. So breakdown and grades night, we're going to just kind of bide our time here just a little bit until Ben King gets into the room. Just kind of setting the table for a breakdown and grades of this LSU game. I think this is one where on the surface, you look at it and you go, yeah, it's going to be another session of bad grades. And there will be some, I'm sure. But I think there are a lot of improvements that a lot of times are being missed in, the initial reaction for this. As in our reaction show, we talked a lot about how frustrating it was, how we were confused, some decisions that were being made. I think now with time sitting on it, context being added to the equation, there's, opportunities for improvement, obviously, but also opportunities that were already taken by certain players, certain units, to be a better football team overall. I knew this one was going to come up. Coaching, yes, F, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. And Corey says he don't want to see anything about Fire Harsin tonight, but unfortunately, buddy, I think you're going to get plenty of that tonight. Most of that stuff happens on the replay when they don't have to do it in a live stream or call and stuff like that. Listen, we can all agree to disagree on whether Harsin should be fired or not, but I hope we can keep the focus mainly on tonight of just talking about the players, their grades, their position grades, the offense, all that kind of stuff. Kevin's just getting this. We're not even in grades yet, Kevin, so slow down a little bit, but he is just offering A+ galore. I love your optimism, buddy. There are no A+. Well, I shouldn't say that. There are no outstanding grades tonight. If that was the case, we would have won the game. I had to pick my jaw up off the floor after seeing the O-line. Devin says, I listened to the Greg McElroy Cole Kublik show to discuss the game today. Really good points. If you can handle a Bama boy talking about Auburn, then just focus on Cole. Really great perspective from them. Yeah, listen, I don't find myself frequenting the show of a Bama boy, but I know that there's an Auburn guy there. I don't know that I can stomach that. So you are a better Auburn person than me, Devin. Cole being saddled with that crybaby redhead just is about all I can stand these days. This is what the 5th and 6th game in 2 seasons where Auburn had a lead and lost? Roughly, yeah. I mean, we've all seen the sequence on social media being shared, how, long it's been since they scored a touchdown, much less a significant amount of points. Plainsman Merv said, just terrible, just terrible. All right, we've got Ben in the green room. Ben, are you good to go, sir? Ready to roll? Give me a thumbs up. I can see. I can't hear you, but I can see you. All right, we're bringing him in. Here he is, Mr. Benjamin King, a.k.a. Well, I guess not a.k.a. tonight because you're not in your
I've got a visor, so
that counts. That counts.
It's like a Gus Malzahn visor.
Are we evoking Gus Malzahn tonight? Are we going to stir that up?
I wasn't trying to, but it does bring back times of being able to finish games
and being able to score points in the second half.
That's correct.
Yeah, you're not. I'm not going to let you stir me up tonight and get myself in trouble, because there are things that I continue to want to be able to say, and I can't, because I've already stirred the pot tonight, or last night. I got myself tore up on social media last night. Apparently, I'm just never mind. I need to be quiet.
Oh man, what are you doing? You're rocking the boat,
you
Kyle.
didn't see any of that, did you?
I did not.
Just go look at my mentions or whatever. Yeah, I guess you can't see the mentions, but just go look at all that. It's fun times last night. Anyway, we're not here about me and my fun times on social media with a certain sect of Auburn fandom. We're here about this game. So Ben, set the table for me, for you, outside of grading the positions, all that stuff. Just kind of where your headspace is at after the 21-17 loss.
I don't want to sound like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, but man, some of the coaching decisions in the second half of that game made me wonder if some of the staff is trying to throw some of these.
I'm going to be honest with you, Ben. And I said this on the reaction live stream. When he went down, when he went for 4th and 10, I'm like, something's up here.
Act like you've been here before.
But now I'm going to retract that. And I think I did this throughout the course of the live stream, with the emotions removed of the situation, with the context of what had been happening with Anders, and with everything, and how, on fire at times Robbie and the receivers kind of were at special moments.
Oh, absolutely.
You kind of understand where they were coming from in that position. I think it was going to be a 48-yard, 47-yard field goal, if I remember correctly. It was a distance one. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, it was enough though in the moment to make me turn my head and go,
but so don't kick the field goal there. Look, automatic Anders is still recovering from an injury, and we don't know if he'll ever be back to how he was. But the defense was playing lights out. LSU couldn't do anything in the second half.
This was not a good LSU team. It was not a good LSU team at all.
But pin them back, and then maybe get a safety, and then be able to kick a field goal and win the game.
Yeah, I agree in some sense. I can see. I actually found myself where I can see both sides of that decision. Actually, 3 sides: kick the field goal, punt the ball, go for it. I don't think that there was a wrong decision. And let's be honest, if he makes that call and we get it, he's a genius today, right? It's just a matter of the way the ball bounces. So it's frustrating, right? It didn't work out. It seems a little desperate. Desperate times call for desperate measures. I think we all understand the desperations that's there for Coach Harsin and his staff at this moment. So it is what it is, man. But I mean, you agree though, this LSU team was not a good team at all?
No.
Right now.
Way overhyped. Look, the talent at LSU is there. The coaching has not figured it out. And I wouldn't say we got out coached. We just made worse plays.
We made more mistakes. And really, this is what this game is about. We're going to do the show because we're going to do the show. But really, the story of this game is if Auburn doesn't turn the ball over as much as it did, they win the game. Yep. LSU had no offense.
None at all.
For the most part, outside of a few explosive plays. And their defense was not really doing all that much. And I didn't believe how bad their defensive backs could be, but apparently they were. And I had an LSU fan on the show this past week, and he tried to warn me. I was like, there's no way they've dropped off that much defensive back wise, but apparently they have. So yes, LSU is not what I would call an LSU game or an LSU team that we're used to. Ben is having a few connectivity issues, it seems like, so we might have to kind of deal with that throughout the show, but we'll work around it. So, Ben, if you can hear me, just keep it coming. We'll keep working through it, buddy. Can you hear me, Ben?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Got you again. We're good.
I'm in bitter cold Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Is it really cold there right now?
Yeah, it's like 40 degrees. I hate it.
Oh, my goodness. Goodness gracious.
I think I'm on the Wi-Fi now, so I shouldn't have any more issues.
That's fine. We'll work through it. I've worked through more frustrating circumstances. People remember a couple of reaction live streams ago, the lighting situation that just kind of kept like imploding in on itself.
You have the mobile broadcast studio too,
right? AKA my car. I did want to say, Devin said that it was BS that they were throwing the game. We're not implying that they actually did that. We're just saying you could see like the scenario where it's like, maybe in the moment we feel like that, but obviously we don't really think that. So Ben, I can't see you, but I can hear you, which is a good thing. There you are.
Okay.
We'll keep plowing through it because it seems like it's going to be one of those nights, but we'll keep working through it. All right, we are about 11 minutes into the stream so far. Let's not waste any more time. Jump into grades, breaking this game down. We got to start with probably one of the higher points of the entire game, which we start a lot with. But, there's probably some room for improvement still there. Robbie Ashford at quarterback for the first time. I guess last game, technically, we only focused on Robbie outside of Holden's 2 series. He came in to help Robbie get over whatever he got banged up on. But this was Robbie Ashford's game. From start to finish on his birthday, by the way. Did you get that news? Apparently that was shared a lot on the broadcast. It became the Jarrett Stidham's from Texas thing, or, Bo Nix is getting married type thing. Like it was their storyline they could not shut up about. Robbie Ashford had quite the game in many aspects. Your thoughts on his play?
I thought he was incredible. He had some areas of opportunity for sure, but put in that situation against a should-be difficult team, a very talented team, if anything, and being able to make the plays when everything broke apart was pretty incredible to see. It's the Robbie that I knew we would have. A lot of people are saying it may be his best game ever, and he'll never have another one like it. I think you're all wrong.
Who's saying that?
There are quite a few commentators who said he had the game of his life, and probably not going to have another one.
Like that is the. I hope that's no one with clout. Is that like people that are media people saying that?
Yes, it's media people.
Really?
So
they're saying that a kid that's in his red shirt freshman year in the situation with this Auburn team is never going to get better and never have a better game.
I'm just repeating what people are saying, and I'm refuting it because
that is the most asinine comment I've ever heard. Like that is ridiculous. I'm offended for Robbie and his family now. Like if that is, I want to know who that was, and they deserve to be slapped. Like that.
Okay.
That's just taking away any improvement options, any coaching opportunities, whether it's this staff or next. I mean, I've not been I've tried to kind of ride the fence on the whole quarterback situation and be supportive of everybody. I'm with Robbie now, but now I'm really Robbie for those type of comments. Anyway,
yeah, I'm not going to call them out on this broadcast, but I will send you the clips. Post this for you to do whatever you so desire with.
Oh my!
Get those slappers ready. But look, when Robbie throws 19 completions for 337 yards with 2 touchdowns, while running for his life half the time in broken plays and just making things happen. It was really incredible. So
can you say Bo Nix?
You know what? I would actually say maybe a little bit better.
For one game, we can probably find some games that he did better than Bo in some certain scenarios. Here's a great thing for Robbie is if we want to just kind of tackle that aspect of it a little bit. He does not have at least we think, the built-in bad tendencies that Bo developed because of what he's been dealing with at Auburn. Now, it's your responsibility to deal with those things and to get better, but Robbie doesn't have that baggage yet. So I think maybe that makes him a little bit more fearless, which is probably a good thing. When we get to the offensive line, we'll talk about that some more, as we always do. But yeah, I would agree with you. I was very impressed with Robbie. I think there is still miles to go. It is not, I'm not going to give him an A tonight, but I'm not going to sit here and beat a kid up who is making, what's the expression? Trying to make lemonade from a bunch of lemons at this point. You said it. He was 50% on the day. Not great when you look at that. When you look at his QBR, it's not great, but he has 2 touchdowns on the day. We scored 2 receiving touchdowns. When's the last time we did that?
It's been a while.
That's pretty incredible. So if you're going to grade Robbie on the night, I'm curious what you would say.
Yeah. So look, Robbie played the game of his career thus far. Very proud of him. The tenacity to stick with it. The second half, there were some issues, but I don't think they were necessarily his fault. Overall, really proud of Robbie's effort. I'm hesitant to give him an A as well, just because, you got to be able to finish the game. And in the second half, regardless of what the coaches are calling, you've got to make the most out of it. So I'm going to give Robbie a solid B+. But for him to come into this, be like the lone guy, he protected himself a little bit better. He did make a couple hits where I was like, ooh, Robbie, no. Mm-hmm. But he took care of the ball for the most part. He had a stellar game. It's really all we can ask for. We got to get a lot of components around him a little bit better and some better play calling.
Yeah, so I would say the first fumble, he got caught from behind from not being protected behind. You could also make the case that he probably could have gotten rid of it sooner too, but I'm not going to nitpick that. The decision to throw the ball, which got intercepted, yes, that's more Coy Moore's fault because he had the ball in his hands. Yep. But you still put your wide receiver in a tough situation. So that one I probably put more, and then there were other mistakes.
That was the play call, though.
This is where it gets a little tense. Not tense. That's not the right word. I don't think people are going to be able to see eye to eye on that. There's this big debate that's happening right now: play calling versus player execution. I find myself on the camp of more player execution being blamed, but I acknowledge that there's a lot of maybe things that I would do differently as a coach, and I can tell and I can see that you would fall more on the play calling side of that discussion.
Well, why would you even call a trick play in that type of situation? Give the ball to Tank.
We're talking about 2 different plays. I'm talking about where he threw the ball into the middle and the ball was caught by Coy Moore, ripped out of his hands. Are we talking about the same one?
Oh, I was talking about the one where he threw the ball over
Coy just
Moore
threw it up.
Then,
yes, yep. that was not a good decision.
We're in the red zone. You take the ball away from your quarterback, give it to a stellar wide receiver who has really come into his own. But then,
except for that fourth quarter.
Yeah. Gosh,
we got to talk about that when we get there. But yeah, you said B+ for Robbie.
B+ for Robbie.
I agree. I tried to really think ahead this time, so I'm not doing this so much on the fly. I kind of, when I was taking a walk earlier, kind of getting my grades somewhat formed in my head, I had already kind of settled on a B+ because I think, as we've addressed with Robbie, given the context of where he's at experience-wise, what he's given to work with right now, injuries, otherwise situational, play calling, all that stuff, did a great job. I just wish we could have gotten the kid his win
on his birthday.
That would have been an awesome story. Really would have been.
And, we were very close.
Yeah. So we got a lot of similar grades. It's a couple A's, B+++. For
I love that, Neil.
So, yeah, I think that's obviously one of the brighter spots of this game, which is actually surprisingly filled with some bright spots. Mm-hmm. So let's continue on with the offensive line and make it a little bit more depressing. Let's talk about that first.
I always said offensive line next.
Let me say this, and I really tried to think about this with the offensive line too. I'm faulting them for Robbie getting caught from behind on that fumble play. There was another time or two, he got caught from behind again. There's that balance again of get rid of the ball. You got to have some self-awareness, but at the same time, you got to trust that you got protection from the backside. There was not any there was a lot of penetration up the middle from the defense of LSU. And then there wasn't a lot of run room up the middle, especially for Tank. And we'll talk about running backs in a second. Yep. So given those bad things, though, did you expect with the injury situation and people being shuffled around for it to get worse, Ben? Like, what was your mindset about all of that coming into the game?
Honestly, I feel like at points the line play got better.
I think it did too, somewhat.
Yep. There were some snapped balls that, thank goodness, Robbie knows how to jump. He's a baseball player, as well as a football player as a quarterback.
Just an athlete.
There you go. There were many missed blocks. Mm-hmm. Many missed blocks. Running backs were getting hit basically at the line or behind the line and having to make something out of nothing. The blind side was not protected really at all, but it was better than it's been.
See, and that's kind of where I find myself, Ben. I'm trying to, say the things that didn't work, but I'm talking about this a lot lately, context of knowing that everybody was swapped around. Brandon Council went it back into center, something he hadn't done in a while. Yeah, a few bad snaps, but you would expect in that scenario, as bad as it's been, for it to get worse. And I can't really say that it did, because I didn't find any. That says a lot of things about how bad it's been. I didn't find any things that were really just bad. So we have been talking poorly about this offensive line for a long time. And I'll be frank, I'm tired of talking about it, but it's the reality of what it is. Yep. It's got to get exponentially better, because it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It doesn't matter if you have Tank back there. If you do not, Coach talked about today in his press conference. We know what Jarquez and Tank can do if they are given any amount of room to work with, and they got to have that room. So, offensive line wise, it's easy to just continue to dog them, but what do you think about grade wise for them?
Gosh, look, I'd have to give them like somewhere between a D+ and a C-. Mm-hmm. So I don't
think it. Go ahead.
Just because of the turnovers and the fact that a lot of those were unnecessary, and it was because of, and yeah, you're right. Maybe don't hold on the ball for as long as Robbie was, but Robbie's trying to make plays and letting things develop. I gotta go with a D+ for the offensive line.
That was my initial direction when I was thinking about this earlier, because there's just not really any solid improvement. But again, given what they had to deal with this week, it should have gotten much worse, and it didn't. So for that reason, I'm going to give them, the passing C-, but it's so close to being a D. It's just from the fact that it's been so bad. Listen, they did enough for this offense to be in the game, as bad as the run game was at times. Robbie was elusive enough, and they gave him enough of a pocket at times to do a few things and make him feel a little bit more comfortable back there, maybe too comfortable at times, So like I said, I just hate continuing down this path of just dogging them the entire time, but it is what it is. C- for me. We'll leave probably the other bright spot for last here, but with running backs, the running game overall, I'll give you some stats to think about when we start talking about it here. Tank, 12 rushes for 45 yards, a 3.8 yard average, which is enough. If you give it to him 3 times, that's a first down. I know it doesn't work that simply, but if you think about it that way, it's quite interesting. Jarquez, probably, even though he has fewer rushes, has probably the more notable night, because they were for bigger gains. Or overall more bigger gains. Robbie was not as much utilized in the run game, 11 times for 19 yards net, and he had a long of 24. Remember when he busted up the middle there? And Javaris Johnson was utilized once on a jet sweep and got at least 4 yards out of it. First thing that stuck out to me is there was no overall loss of yardage from anybody who ran the ball tonight. And I feel like that's at least been a couple times with us trying some of these jet sweeps or things like that, extended runs with wide receivers. So when you look at the run game overall, 101 yards net, no touchdowns. The longest one was 24, 3.3 yards average. Your thoughts on the running game?
Well, look, there was a time where a negative play should have happened, but, Tank got the ball as a handoff. He went back 3 yards, and then he fought for 4 yards to get a positive 1 yard gain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just when you have nowhere to run and your yards after, contact are over 3 yards, like that's a pretty good running back right there. That's very strong. It's tough because I feel like we went away from the run a lot, and I don't know why.
But
I understand.
I think it worked a little bit, though, to be honest with you.
Well, in some cases, we had a lot of punts. We had a lot of 3 and outs. We had a lot of failed drives because we didn't have a balanced offense. And that starts with the offensive line. I understand that. And they were struggling. But when you have a running back who can get hit at the line and still get 3 yards on average, positive gains, you got to hand the ball off.
Right.
And I just don't understand why we get in these scenarios, especially in the red zone. And we just say, okay, well, let's pass 3 downs and then throw an interception.
So what would be your response, Ben, if we do what you're suggesting, and it continues to be what we've seen a lot from the offensive line, us running it 3 times, and then we're kicking a field goal or punting anyway. In the red zone, I guess not. Okay, so what would be your response then?
Well, I don't think it would necessarily happen as long as the play calling is correct. But
so, okay, let me take all those caveats out. Let's just say the players didn't execute. So what would be your response then?
Well, you still got to be with your bread and butter. And the best players on the field are Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter. So let the players play. Let the magic happen. Try to open some holes. Please try. But you don't necessarily have to because they run through guys.
That's fair.
Run the ball.
It's fair. Listen, I actually was not upset with the balance in this game because of the way the pass game was working, and because, again, we weren't seeing enough fruit from the offensive line creating space for those guys. We did try to, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, utilize Tank and Jarquez more in the passing game, and some of that comes from trying to get, like you talked about, get the ball in your best player's hands, right? How by any means necessary. And you could see they did that. They tried to get Tank out there and Jarquez out there in some open field since there was no holes out there. But just in terms of analyzing the run game, I hear you that it's hard to really grade them in this one because of the lack of opportunities and the lack of accessibility to make much happen. So how do you grade running backs?
I mean, they did their job. I don't think there were any running back fumbles. So
I don't think so. I can't remember one. No.
That helps. I feel bad, honestly, for Tank.
I do too.
Because he is so good and he has no help.
Yep.
And if he had a decent offensive line and play calling, he could be amazing.
And it's interesting to think about this. I was having this discussion at the game. I said somebody in the NFL is going to get a steal from Tank this year because his stats aren't going to warrant him being in the top few rounds. So he's probably going to go 3rd or 4th, something like that, and be like the steal of the draft, whereas he should be considered a 1st, 2nd rounder. Yeah. And they're going to get a great NFL back.
I'm drafting him next year. That's for sure.
I will as well. So yes, but back to the question at hand. It's a tough one, but what's D? D for the running backs?
B with a B.
Oh, excuse me.
B is in the boys.
B is in
the boys took care of business.
Boys and take care of business. I'm gonna be a little harsher on this because I'm kind of reaching that point where I expect a little bit more from the guys. Where, you know what you've got to deal with in that offensive line. Make something happen, boys. You are the best athletes on the field. And listen, you brought it up. A lot of those times they were in the backfield making the yardage back that they lost because of that. So I'm giving that credit, but we got to have somebody step up, and you're the best we got at this point. So for that reason, I'm going to give them a C plus. I just expect more out of them.
Got to get them out in space.
That's fair.
You can't just run up the gut with people that can't block.
That is fair. All right, wide receivers, real quick here. I obviously probably one of the brighter spots here. Coy Moore spent a lot of time this past week talking trash. Now, if you looked at some of the comments in context, it wasn't as bad as kind of the snippets and stuff like that. But this is why you wait until the game is done, and then you can run your mouth all you want. You can go, especially all you need to do is go scoreboard. Now LSU can go scoreboard. I love the fight in the dude. I'm glad that he was having fun with it. That's what college football is all about. But just remember this next time. Had a great start, outstanding start, and then interception. Play call or not, it is still your decision to throw that ball, and it was a bad decision.
Yep.
Getting stripped, basically causing an interception. Quick question for you. I was debating this a lot. Yes, on paper, that's an interception. Do you consider it when the wide receiver has control of it, which he did, and is ripped from his body in like the split second of all that happening? Should that be an interception or should that be a fumble?
Should be a fumble.
I agree.
You can't put that on Robbie.
I can put the decision to throw the ball into that tight window, but he still made the throw. He made the connection.
Him. Yeah.
But
it was a boom play, and then Coy Moore falls on the ground, and LSU's got the ball down in our what would we get to, the red zone at that point or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. I can't remember how far he got back, but that was the backbreaker. And we got a fumble back after that too, so it was just kind of like we thought we just had so many moments here. It's like, all right, we got this now. Oh, we got this now. And I had hope because I saw how Robbie and the offense at times were slinging.
No one quit.
No one did.
No one in the entire game quit. And what is it? Hats off for that. Hats off, boys. No one quit. But man, I almost quit watching.
Yeah, I listen. It was rough watching it in the stadium too. All right, let's look here. Coy Moore, 4 receptions for 55 yards. Javarius Johnson, 3 receptions for 74 yards. Tank got 4 catches. John Samuel Shanker again shows up in some big moments too, and getting some extra yardage on top of that. Winning the balls, he's surprising me lately. How penalties. I was going to say after the catch, he's getting some extra yards. But yes, there are still penalties happening as well. Tyler Fromm got a catch. Omari Kelly got a catch, and of course, Camden Brown got a catch and his touchdown, which was a bit of an overthrow by Robbie. But when you have a receiver like that, it doesn't really matter overthrowing it just a hair. What a catch by that guy.
Incredible.
Isn't that what you've been missing? Having somebody like that just go out there and make a play like that. Wasn't that amazing to watch?
Yep. Someone who can go up and, high point the ball.
Yep.
It's been quite some time since we had a wide receiver like that. So thankful to see it.
Omari Kelly on his one catch, it was 25 yards. That was a great play as well, too. Javarius Johnson kind of showed, to me, maybe, and this is kind of just popping in my head now, reminded me a lot of Ryan Davis and Jarrett Stidham's connection that Robbie and Javarius had on that first catch where, he made the connection and then Javarius did the rest. Ryan Davis was very kind of shifty when get those extra yardage and break tackles and stuff like that to get the touchdown. That was kind of what I felt when I watched sometimes that connection between him and Javarius. So I really liked what I saw there. How nice is it that we've discussed Coy Moore and his terrible fourth quarter, but everybody was having a bad fourth quarter at that point. So it's kind of just lumped in there with everything else that was going on at that point. But how nice has it been that we're actually excited about the wide receivers who we were lamenting last year?
It's great. I mean, the guys have stepped up, some really good talent. We we can't seem to recruit offensive linemen or get them out of the portal, but wide receiver, we actually have some players that have come to play. And no quit on those guys either.
Yep.
Kind of across the board.
Yep.
There were some bad throws that were not catchable, but there were a lot of really good catches. And appreciate the effort from the wide receivers.
And this is going to make people sore again, some people that will especially watch on the replay whenever you mention the name Bo Nix. This is what was happening with Bo Nix. It was a compounding situation of bad habits over time, but also no support from your offensive line and no support from your wide receivers. What was the big storyline last year with wide receivers? Dropped passes.
Yep.
Not just, there were overthrows, but there were a ton of drop passes. So imagine you're a quarterback doing all you can, struggling yourself, and then you can't get any blocking. Then you can't get your wide receivers to catch the ball. Look at Robbie, young guy with no bad habits, has his wide receivers now catching the ball and even some of his bad throws. And yeah, he's not getting any blocking, but at least he knows he's got an outlet somewhere to do something with the offense. And so it's interesting watching Robbie's situation and Bo's situation and seeing how they're just a little bit different and how it's a little bit more successful in a very early few games scenario with Robbie Ashford. So I'm encouraged by what I saw between Robbie and his wide receivers and some of our new faces as well. We're seeing more and more of with Javaris Johnson get a touchdown and now Camden Brown with his first touchdown. So what's your grade?
Grade for wide receivers, 2 touchdowns. Got to give them an A-. I'm
going to agree with you. I'm going to put them into. So here's the dilemma. Coy Moy's fourth quarter was awful.
Yep.
I can't really put that on the wide receivers. He
threw
off
the curve.
The flip play.
No,
but I can fault the wide receivers because it is part of their play for that ripped away fumble situation. So for that alone, it almost could drop it down to a B for me. But because I'm just so happy about the wide receivers, I'm going to give them an A- just like you. Yep. I think so happy that one of the 2 units on offense that we've been struggling with for a while is like showing signs of life. And this offensive line, guys, listen, I hate talking bad about y'all, but this is what we've been looking for. Signs of progress and signs that, you guys have got something moving in the right direction. This is what I want. This is what I dream of, is to be able to scream from the high heavens, my big old hog molly boys on the offensive line just laid the wood to some folks and created all these holes. I'm ready to celebrate the offensive line like I'm celebrating the wide receivers right now.
And the wide receivers, that progression and that development from that position is all coaching.
It's a good hire in Ike Hilliard.
Yep. Hilliard has been the difference there. You look when you don't have a whatever backup analyst running the wide receivers, and you actually have someone who has done it and knows how to coach and knows how to play, getting guys ready for games. Boys came to play.
Now, are you referring to the backup analyst as Keesaw, or are you talking about Cornelius Williams?
I don't remember who they were. Whoever Hartson's little friend was that he decided to put as wide receivers coach.
Well, that was, Cornelius Williams was the problem. He was the one that got fired.
Then
Keesaw took over, who's now the offensive coordinator. He's the one that kind of came in tried to clean up the mess last year, and nobody could clean up that mess.
Yeah, that first one then. Whoever that was, who had no business coaching wide receivers.
I was really excited about him because his connections in the state of Alabama, but it didn't really amount to much if you can't get the players to do what you need to on the field. Are y'all giving the wide receivers an A+ because the stink so bad? Because I don't get that question, Rob. I don't know. I think
we didn't give them an A+.
No, we gave them an A-.
Yep. So
anyway,
get your numbers right.
All right.
And they stink real good.
They stink real good. Overall offense, just real quick.
It takes it. I guess they get a passing grade even though we lost, which is weird. Typically would not be my thing, but I think overall you've got a high C there, a C+ from an offense that, look, in the first quarter, I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh.
Who is this?
Yes. And in the beginning of the second quarter, I was the same way. I was like, not only are we going to beat LSU, we're going to obliterate LSU. And then some bad plays, fumble that got picked up for a touchdown. We just kind of fell apart. And I don't know necessarily if it was the offense that fell apart or if it was just some of the decisions that were being made from the coaching booth.
I'm going to be honest with you. I know it's the popular thing, and I see it in the comments right now about the coaching and play calling. This is not an issue if we hold on to the ball. And
That's true.
I know, listen, I know everybody's frustrated. I'm not saying you don't have a right to be with Coach Harsin, with everybody else, but the fact of the matter is this game was about player execution. If the players do not make the decisions that they make, which again goes, and I acknowledge, goes back to the coaches being able to coach them in the moment, that coaching now happens now this week about those situations. So you can't fault them until after the fact, or excuse me, you can't fault them for decisions that were made in the game unless they give the opportunity to address them. This game was about decisions that were made by players to not hold on to the ball, to not throw a ball into certain situations, to not follow your blocks and protect someone on the backside so they don't get a fumble ripped out in the back end. That's really what this game is comes down to, especially for the offense. If they hold on to the ball, we win this game. LSU was not a good team.
Well, I see your point, but I have to say that if we just played, look, we were by far the better offense on the field. We were by far the better approach. If we had just been even more conservative in the play calling and gone for setting up Anders to kick a field goal that wasn't 45 yards away from the left hash,
right,
then we would have won the game.
Right. No, I hear you on that. But that's the ifs, buts, candies, and nuts game. And
yeah, but I want my candies and nuts in a win against LSU. So
I was not ready for that, Ben. I want my candies and nuts. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I needed that one tonight. Listen, yeah, I don't know that you and I are going to see eye to eye on the whole play calling versus player execution thing tonight, as I am probably with many people tonight. But my point still stands. We don't turn the ball over, we win the game. And that goes down to players' decisions. So did we ever get to a grade on offense overall?
Overall, I gave him a C.
If they don't turn the ball over, this is probably a B for me. Even as bad as the run game was at times, just because it looks so new, so fresh and stuff like that. So because in the lack of production and scoring in the second half, we've all talked. I mean, we all know, we're aware of the stats of that. C+, just because I feel bad. I don't know. All right. Defense. Let's get the not so great part of it out of this way. And I'm kind of coming, if people say that you never change your mind on anything, Kyle, you always have your opinions and you never can be like swayed anyway. Here's where a lot of people have been trying to point my attention to the lack of production from linebackers, or the lack of or more being created by the linebackers. Now, here's the interesting thing. Wesley Steiner, Owen Papo, top of the charts. 11 tackles for Wesley Steiner, almost a Cam Riley game for him. Owen Papo has 8 total tackles. And if we scroll a little bit further down, looking. By the way, Killian Zaire is on a tackle on defense because of that whole interception thing, I think, or the fumble thing. That's just really weird to see him on the sheet right there. Desmond Tisdale has a tackle. That is about it. Who am I missing here? I don't even see Cam Riley on the sheet at all. Either way, so your two starting two of your bigger linebackers are leading in the charts, but there were apparently a lot of missed tackles from them. From certain angles I had, it was hard to really get a good look at them where I was in the stadium. But there were a few missed tackles on a lot of things this past game. Any thoughts on the linebackers as a whole? Because I'm starting to kind of come over to the narrative that we should be expecting more of our linebackers.
Well, we're not really putting them into blitz packages.
Okay.
Like, we have them sitting back to tackle either the quarterback who runs free as a spy or the running back once he gets past the D-line because the D-line's being aggressive. And they're doing their job for that. There's only 2 of them, granted. It's a weird kind of defense. It's not typically, what we're used to. But historically, a lot of the linebackers were sent into blitz packages, and I'm just not seeing that.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what it is that I'm starting to kind of come over to on this discussion point too, is that whether it's because of decisions or they're just not effective in giving the few opportunities they may be given, I'm just not seeing, it's going to pain me to bring this up, but, Will Anderson of Alabama, he's the athlete and he gets all the hype because of what he does, because he's coming through there and, plugging up the gaps. He's coming in there, making plays behind the line of scrimmage. And we're seeing Wesley Steiner and Owen Papo get the tackles, but it's like, after they've already gotten a few yards and things like that, we're just not seeing a lot of that explosion. Owen Papo has 1 quarterback hurry. Wesley Steiner has none. Desmond Tisdale has only 1 tackle on the day, unless I'm looking at that wrong. I think that's right.
Well,
so there's just not a lot of explosion from our linebackers.
Would that be player execution, or would that be the play calling where you don't actually have the linebackers going in for pressure type plays?
I'd probably defer to you on this instance for that type of discussion, because I'm just not seeing that a lot. And I'm coming over to that side of the discussion the more the season goes on. I think this was probably the weakest part of the defense, although the defense did a pretty decent job against a mediocre LSU team. But this is 2 games in a row where they've showed up, kept their team in a position to win. The offense just couldn't get it done. So it's hard for me to completely fault them, but I wanted to start us out talking about linebackers first, because I feel like we brush over them a lot. Especially since they're basically part of that whole front 7 unit. And I think that's an area where we clearly could have a little bit more explosion out of, similar to what wide receivers were. Wide receivers were making catches for the most part, but there wasn't a lot of explosion. Look what we had happen in this game. Camden Brown with his first catch in an amazing, overthrow that he just pulls in. Amari Kelly has a great play. Javaris Johnson. We're not seeing Owen Papo, except for that Penn State, game where he just laid Clifford out. We're not seeing that enough. We're not seeing Wesley Steiner run through there and dragging someone down all that much. I may be missing them, but I am coming over to that side of the fence. So what do you think about linebacker grades?
Well, I have to say the most linebacker hit that we had last night was made by Robbie Ashford.
Yes, thank you. We should have brought that up earlier. Thank you for bringing that up.
Him out.
Can he play 2 ways, please?
I'd love it. I'd love to go to like a 5-1-5 and just put Robbie right there as the spy who has the ability to go light someone up. Because right now I don't understand the purpose of the linebacker position within our defense. Mm-hmm. I want the front to actually be aggressive. I want to have some blitz packages, especially when the offense we're playing is being completely owned by our defense and they're on their heels. Take them out. Take them out. And we're sitting back and we're letting them make things happen.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of what's going on. There's a lot of sitting back, and I don't know if that's because we're worried about getting beat over the top with some of the weaknesses at times the defensive backs has shown, or it's just the scheme. I'm going to try to watch this a little bit more closely. There are injury bugs starting to creep in, not at this particular position, but on the defensive front. And so that's obviously going to affect things. But I think if this defense wants to start continuing to progress and get better, even as good as they've looked at times this year and shown that they have that skill and ability, the linebacker position has got to be the one that steps up. And that's from your leaders, Owen Papo, Cam Rowley, Wesley Steiner, guys that have been around. Got to have them step up a little bit more. And I'm not saying anything they don't know. They know this. They see the stats just like we do. And they're much better players than I ever will be. But that's just being honest about it.
I mean, as the quarterbacks of the defense played lights out.
Yeah.
So they're doing their jobs.
Yeah, fairly, yes. Yeah, I would say that a lot of people are saying that the second half was a little bit left us wanting at times because of some plays that they just, didn't make at the end. But
they didn't score except for the one They had one score because was it because we went for it on fourth down? Is that why they scored? Was that the one in the second half?
I can't even remember. That second half is such a blur now from frustration. So I'm
yep.
Probably can't speak to it.
I feel like it was that was what it was. We went for it on fourth down. We gave them a short field. They went down and scored after that.
Yeah.
We switched the momentum when we could have pinned them deep, and we were up by 3 points, and we gave our defense a short field instead of giving them the full length of the field. I can't get mad at a defense for being on their heels, switching momentum, and then saying, "Okay, well, sorry, we put you in this position. Go figure it out."
Yep. No, that's a good point. That's a very good point that they were put in a lot of bad situations by the offense.
They allowed like one actual drive out of the entire game because there was a scoop and score. And then there was that fourth down play where we were like, yeah, let's not pin them deep and let our defense be able to be in a good position.
Right.
And then there was that drive in the second quarter. So to end the game or in the half.
Okay. We'll have to come back to that one. Or I think we've kind of covered the linebacker. Did we give a grade on linebackers? I don't know if we did.
I don't know, man. Like, we didn't give them a grade.
I don't know what we give them. I'm going to say probably D+ because I need them to do more. It's kind of like I feel about running backs right now. Yeah. I know I see some of the other issues that are out of your control. I just need more from you.
I give them a C because they're still doing their job. I wish they would be given more opportunities to make plays.
And that's fair. And that probably helps that discussion point a little bit, but that's just kind of how I feel about it. And you know what? I'm going to be like Twitter and operate off of emotions 24/7. So
there you go.
That's how I'm going to do it tonight.
Love it.
Defensive line, edge, the rush, the pass, not coverage because that would be the back end, but that unit, however you want to describe it, edge across the defensive line. We lost Iku Leota for the rest of the year. If you haven't heard that yet, Ben. He is out they said should be out for the rest of the year. Just plan on it to be out for the rest of the year with a pectoral issue that he's got to have surgery on, which is just a backbreaker in some sorts.
It is.
However, Marcus Bragg comes in and has a pretty good game, makes a lot of plays, gets a lot of notice. He got a couple of shout outs from Coach Harsin today during the press conference as well.
Got a sack.
He did. So did Derek Hall on the day. He didn't have a lot of stats, but he forced a fumble.
Yep.
This is not stat-wise his most impressive game outside of the fumble. And I think
he was in the mix all the time now.
He was. Probably could have used him a little bit more at the end of the game. Again, noting the situations that they found themselves in because of the offense. But this is a unit again where I don't find a lot of flaws. If anybody else has any other opinions in the chat, you can share them now. But we are kind of getting late in our time. I didn't realize how late we were. So just to kind of, for the sake of time, what would you grade defensive line, edge? Your thoughts on that?
Look, the guys get an A. They're tenacious. They are the front line, and they took care of business. 3 sacks. We had 8 tackles for loss in this game. I was happy about it.
Yeah, I'd probably say it's kind of in the same vein as the linebackers a little bit for me, where I expected more at the end of the game, but because they were there a lot, I think if Iku Leota is still there, we're probably talking about an even better game for them. So I'm going to say A-, just because they did enough to, make a difference in this game. Defensive backs, somewhat quickly, is my biggest improvement, but my biggest question for you, Ben, is this more they did a great job or the wide receivers in the passing game for LSU was so bad, which is really weird to say.
I think it's
Keyshawn
both,
Butte has
honestly.
1 catch. Butte has 1 catch.
No, I know. There were some blown coverages.
There were.
And those turned into big plays for LSU. So that happened. So it wasn't just that LSU's passing game sucked, even though it wasn't good. Mm-hmm. It was a little bit of both, honestly. A perfect storm for our DBs to look okay at times and then give up big plays at others. Improvement, though. Definitely improvement.
Here, this isn't related, but we're going to, since we've got a rogue LSU fan here, hey, we'll keep Coy Moore because y'all can keep the effort that Butte shows. I don't want that man anywhere near my program because he, man, does not give any effort whatsoever. So you can come in here acting a fool, George Ray. We will take Coy Moore and his mistakes because he at least shows that he wants to be out there. Out. Sorry.
Jorge Ray.
And DJ James is probably a highlight. Let's see. Dusty brought it up. DJ James was a beast. Anytime you hold a team to 5 yards passing and a half, you did something right. Even if it was a very abysmal passing game from LSU, as he said, and as you've said, Ben, you did something right by holding him to that. Yep. DJ James is making himself a name for himself. We talked a lot about the trajectory of these guys that have risen up within the ranks of Auburn's defensive backfield over time. Noah Igbenogany, Roger McCreary. It goes back even for Jamil Dean, Carlton Davis. It seems like we've got that guy that rises to the occasion, and it looks like DJ James may be that guy. He is that guy. So I'm super excited to watch his improvement. My least favorite word, development, that's overused in this season so far. So how do you feel grade-wise for defensive backs?
They're getting better. I got to give them a C for this game.
I'm going to be a lot like Dusty and give them a little bit more credit, even though I think that this was a very abysmal passing game from the LSU team. I'm going to say B. It was enough. They took care of what they needed to take care of. They kept Keyshawn Butte in check. And listen, I just dog Keyshawn Butte. And his biggest problem is his effort, his caring to be out there. The dude's a great talent. If he just show up and if he just do the thing. The LSU fan I had on the preview show even said as much. Maybe the whole Coy Moore conversation that went around last week will wake him up, and it still didn't. Neighbors had their second wide receiver had a better game, and it really wasn't all that great. So for all the fears that I had about the passing game and the wide receivers, our defensive backs shut them down for the most part. For the most part.
If we had gotten an interception or two,
you'd feel a lot better about this.
Huge. Yeah.
Okay.
We had opportunities.
We did. And Coach Harson's been harping about that a lot, of the need to compete for the ball when it's in the air.
Yep.
From the defensive backs. And we talked a lot about that at the start of the season too, about that's what's been missing from them. But at least we're talking about a game where, whether it's more on the passing game from the other team or on their defense of the passing game, at least when the stat column looks good for them. Overall defensive grade, what you got?
Defensive grade is a B+. They did everything they could, except for maybe some things late in the game.
Mm-hmm. When you lose a game, it's hard for me to give it that high of a grade. I think I'm still going to stick with a B-, and I acknowledge the situation that they were put in.
Yeah.
I can't. I think I said it a lot tonight.
One scoring drive.
That's fair. That
we can tell them that wasn't good. But I think getting put on your heels in the second half for no reason, having the scoop and score that wasn't even your fault.
Yeah.
Defense played lights out for most of the game.
Yeah, I think if the linebacker situation was a little bit more exciting for me, there's a turnover or an interception there, then you're probably finding me in the A category, not even an A-. But I just need a little bit more from them. So this is just me kind of spitballing off there on an overall grade. So very quickly here, we'll go a little bit over here, but we'll get Ben out of here on time, as close to time as we can. Special teams wise, Anders, we already talked about. Very sad that he seems to not be completely right. Although I think people are overreacting a little bit. The man's 5 for 7 on the year. He's only missed 2. It's not like he's missed a bunch, but it's still concerning because we're not used to a Carlson, even when we acknowledge that's been injured, having struggles that seem to be more frequent than normal.
But we didn't give him, run to the middle of the field, guys. What are we doing?
Can I be honest with you as a former kicker, Ben? Everybody overplays that middle of the field thing. Yeah, up close, that's a good thing. But when you're beyond 30, 35 yards, that range, I would prefer to be coming from an angle. like I was a former kicker, so I can say,
Yeah.
I don't know. Were you a kicker? I can't remember.
We didn't have, I played
right.
soccer.
That's right.
We didn't have football.
You were a kicker in another sense.
There we go.
So I preferred to be coming from an angle to, you know, kind of adjust the way my foot came around the ball and swung and hit it. From that distance, that's the only, I did extra points. The one field goal that I had in high school was, I'm 100%, by the way, was from the left hash mark, because that was my more comfortable from that distance way to hit it. So it's I know it seems down the middle is best. Up close it is, but not further back.
Well, I still would have rather at least had Anders kick from the other side of the field.
Yeah. Fair. Punter, though, that was, hey, we would rather not be utilize him as much as we are, but man,
I'm glad we have him.
He is a true weapon. I'm trying to pull up his numbers here. He had 4 punts, 185 yards total on those punts. His long was 50, 2 inside the 20, and an average of 46.2. And those sound great, but Coach talked about it a lot today at the press conference. The hang time that he's getting, and people missed this, that there was a lot of people out on special teams this week. Apparently, I wasn't aware of that until they started discussing it today. Like some of the guys that make a lot of those plays, giving those guys that extra hang time that maybe aren't your regular special teams coverage guys is really helping them out. So you want to talk about another bright spot in this game? There you got it. The wonder from down under.
Yep.
Love
incredible.
So overall, just special teams, how would you grade this out? It's a tough one to kind of measure everything together.
You know, I don't want to hate on Anders too much, because I don't think we set him up for success. And then we didn't give him the opportunity to, you know, make the plays that we knew he can. But at the end of the day, it was maybe coaching decisions that gives this grade. I got to give it like a C-.
C-. Ooh, wow, that's a little bit rougher than I thought you'd be.
It is, because all we had to do was kick 2 field goals.
But that's you're great. We're grading. Remember, yeah, and it's hard to do.
We're grading the performance.
We're grading the players' performance. We're not grading the coaches on this. We all
the coaches for special teams gets a C-.
We are all clear on everybody's feelings on the coaches in this week. That is not missed whatsoever. But from the players' standpoint, how do you grade them?
Let Anders kick a ball. He missed 1 field goal from like 45 yards away, and you're like, okay, well, we're not going to kick another field goal again. Well, that's stupid.
How do you grade the player's performance? That's what we're here
as far
for.
As the player's performance, with all the issues on special teams, the punter was incredible again. Oscar Chapman, thank you, sir, for being able to switch the field. You get a solid B+. But when it comes to the fact that Anders is still a Carlson, he's not automatic Anders anymore, but he's still got a great leg with great distance. You just have to put him in a position to be successful. Could have and should have won us the game.
I think I would grade them out as, if Oscar hadn't been so amazing, I probably would have put it in the B category because of the miss. But because Oscar was so outstanding. Now, one thing we're not talking about, I know we're over time here, but the fumble on the punt return was a backbreaker too. So that's another thing we haven't even talked about and have to account for here. So, you know, that probably should bump it below an A for me. So I'll say B+, probably is what I'll say. So anyway, obviously a very frustrating game with a lot of opinions, a lot of everybody having, this is the answer. And the popular answer is fire the head coach. And yes, that may fix the immediate frustrations, but it's not going to fix necessarily the problems at this particular moment. But that's a discussion for another day. Either way, we talked about how this game showed some encouragement. Ben, did you, just to round out our show, did you see enough improvement to give you any hope for Georgia?
Nope. So here's the thing. Look, Georgia struggled with Missouri, who we somehow were able to hold on to and beat. I don't know why that is or how that is. Maybe Missouri's better than we thought. maybe we're better than we think. I don't know. Maybe we're all just amazing. Maybe LSU is great too. Their only loss was because they can't kick a PAT against FSU.
That's still funny, by the way.
It is.
It's so funny.
So could we go out there and put up a show against Georgia? Maybe. Will we? Probably not.
It's probably the way it's going to happen. The reason I ask is because, again, I want to remind folks that we are not doing, and it's not because it's Georgia versus Auburn. I will be out of town this Thursday, so there will be no live preview show for Georgia. And again, I am actually disappointed because I have kind of a friend in mind I'd like to have on to do that preview show. Yes, I have a Georgia friend. We can have Georgia friends, as much as annoying as they are. Right, Ben? You can speak to that.
Yeah, we live in Atlanta. They're all dogs.
They're all weird and bark at people.
They're all dogs or yellow jackets that don't cheer for anything.
I was about to say, do you actually know Georgia Tech people?
Yeah,
I know one.
I work at Home Depot. We have a lot of Georgia Tech people that work there.
Fair point. Fair point right there. All right, let's round this show out. As always, we'll remind you of a couple things. If you can, check out some of the links in the description for ways you can help support the content here. You can hit that join button here, become a channel member for $1 a month. That is obviously helpful if you are willing to do that. For those of you that have already done so, that is very, very helpful. For those of you that want to take the next step and get some extra stuff, there's the Booster Club as well. Patreon.com/E2C Network. Get yourself some extra perks there for your financial support. And there's other things as well. TeePublic, PayPal, the thanks button here, all those things. You don't have to do any of those things if you don't want to, though. You can just be here, hang out with us, hit the like button, share it out on social media, invite a friend in, help us grow a little family within the Auburn family so you can see Ben more often and hear him talk about how he wants his candies and nuts, apparently, which was the moment of the night of the stream for me tonight.
That's what I was going to end the show on.
But did I steal your thunder, Ben?
Give me my candies and nuts, Harson.
You can find me on Twitter at Kyle Loomis. I can't even finish it. At Kyle Loomis 24. Ben, where can they find you?
At
candiesandnuts.com.
I'm getting it tonight. Candiesandnuts.com. War Eagle.
War Eagle. Thank you guys for being here. We'll make it through it, folks. Until I talk to you again. War Eagle.